So, welcome to our second edition of the Amazing Blocks podcast, Tokenizing Everything. Today's guest with me is Raphael Hess, our Chief Technology Officer. Welcome, Raphael.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. A pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. Before we continue, I have to state that all opinions that are stated in this podcast are personal opinions and do not represent any opinion of Amazing Blocks or other involved parties. So let's get started. Rafael, just a basic question to begin with. How did you get into tech? I mean, as you're the chief technology officer, obviously you're a fiend with technology. So just give our readers a brief intro about who you are and why technology is to you so exciting.
Wow, that's a deep question here. For me, tech was always in my life. It started as a child, most likely with Lego tech and everything around it. I loved it. And as soon as I got my first computer at the time where I was still very young and I captured it, I loved it. I explored it first the internet, first the computer by itself, then later on the internet when I grew up. And I fell in love with technology, devices, great user interfaces, which evolved day by day, technologies around it. I was really involved in it and I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think for everybody that's it's really into tech, they always start as a kid, especially with Legos, and I think it's a good start to build something with these parts there. So let's just continue. You got into tech and it got exciting for you. So what kind of experiences did you have from a work field? Where did you work previously before Amazing Blocks? Can you tell us our listeners a bit about yourself there?
Of course, yeah, I'm happy to do so. So one of the major things I did when I was young for sure was when the iPhone and the iPad and the iPod Touch came out, to jailbreak these devices as a child, just like enhance the functionalities of it and explore what is possible, push everything to the limits. So this is when I started thinking out of the box of the devices we have in our hands as well as the computer, to just push it and to just make the computer work for me and always look for the most efficient way to get things done. And this just like brought me into the whole pathway I would go on. Like I would study business informatics later in Würzburg, which was a great fit for me. I took a deep dive into the SAP world here and also about audit software there. So I learned about business processes, the data management of it. It was a really great experience and a big learning for me. I'm always thankful for that. And then in my master's, I would do a full shift in the um, blockchain technology, like business wise. Before, of course, I knew something about, for instance, the Bitcoin when I got it introduced by a friend when it was still at 350 euros or something like that. Um, and after that, of course, I would be involved slowly and more, but I would not understand one of those big moments I would have later with blockchain when I started realizing what we actually have in our hands here.
Yeah, I think this big moment that you just mentioned that actually actually brings me to my follow-up question, because people that are in the blockchain slash crypto industry always talk about a certain wow moment or several wow moments, so to say. So what was it for you? That's something that made you realize, okay, this is not just a technology that is in some ways going to affect our society, but it's actually going to disrupt so many different sectors as a whole. So what was this moment for you, and what led to this moment?
It's a very interesting question because in this space, I would say I had it more than once. And that's
Mhm.
something which is already rarely here. I would have it, for instance, with the Bitcoin technology, like the protocol, how it's built. It was one of the first moments when I realized, okay, we might have a full shift on digital currencies and money management in the future. And the next big step I had is when I started realizing in my master thesis, which I wrote about DeFi, what is possible here, or like to get the small grasp understanding where we are at right now, and that we do not know how this will be tomorrow. But what we know is that we have an incredible, powerful technology in front of us, and we need to leverage it and find out what the future will be, and we will shape it actively. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with you. Crypto or blockchain technology in general disrupts just various different sectors. So, what to you personally do you see? The most urgent or most pressing fields of disruption in the near future, and which sectors do you consider as that it may take a little while to the full scope of the potential will be feasible for disruptors and enthusiasts.
Yeah, wow, interesting question, and it's a big one. I think blockchain will revolutionize and evolutionize things on very different landscapes. One of the main things where a complete life change might happen is, for instance, in the country of Africa, where blockchain technology, DLT technology, might be able to fast forward the whole banking and payment organization in Africa completely to the new world without having our traditional world of big banks where everyone has an account. They might completely skip it. And this is already a strong indicator what we have here if we skip a whole industry in a certain country. Furthermore than that, of course, we have all the applications with blockchain around supply chain management, where we can see and figure out like certifications if something is genuine, and if something is real, if a person, maybe KYC data on the blockchain might identify us in the future. I have lived in Estonia. I saw in Estonia amazing approaches for the future, how to handle and use and leverage the blockchain. So I can see various fields, from governance to banking to information distribution, where a blockchain will have a strong impact on our future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good, a good point that you mentioned there with Africa, especially as I think just from statistics, it's one of the continents that has the highest adoption rate of blockchain. And I think you could especially consider Nigeria a hub here. And what you mentioned about that, they basically skip this intermediary of a bank and so on. This is a major benefit, because I think with the core pain points that we still have in, for instance, Germany, where we are located, is that people, they do not really see the need for a blockchain application, because they have this traditional bank account system in place. They're used to it, and they do not really see the benefit of the next generation. And I think in other areas of this world where this system that we have here with the banking system in general is not as implemented yet, it will be much easier to actually move one step further already. So let's stay on with jurisdictions. Africa is can be considered crypto friendly, especially Mauritius. However, also China, for instance, is a pretty crypto-friendly jurisdiction in terms of blockchain adoption. I mean, we see a lot of interesting projects happening there. The CBDC from the Chinese government, and their plan that they rolled out and tested in several areas of China and mainland China. So where do you see the US and Europe potentially lacking behind, from a jurisdictional standpoint?
Well, that's a very interesting question as well. I think actually with Europe, Germany is doing an incredibly well job here. For instance, we have, and that was surprisingly fast and well done, blockchain strategy. And also we do have the first regulations in place. For instance, if we talk about Europe here. In Europe, of course, we can see also several jurisdictions handling and treating the topic in different ways. And that's also really interesting here. But what is important is that we will shape with the jurisdictions a safe legal framework where business and applications can build upon. And to really create those frameworks, I see several countries here doing great jobs. That might be on the custodian side, for instance, Germany. That might be on the issuance side, for instance, Liechtenstein. We also see incredibly interesting projects also in Switzerland. This, I think, like a strong triangle here we have in Europe. The US is, of course, also not asleep. The speed and the pace, how federal banks pick up, not just the FED, of course, it's also the ECB, the topic of cryptos and potentially having e-currencies on chain is a huge topic here. And I think also this will change the landscape, the ecosystem on a strong way. And I think these people here you mentioned earlier, they don't need it, or they don't have the urge, or they're not looking for it. I would say they're looking for it, especially now in the context of this time with Corona. With the pandemic, we see people looking for new instruments and ways to finance ideas and to distribute wealth and to get and to keep businesses alive. We just see completely new instruments being thought of and concepts being drawn, and just like different drivers of crypto adoption. They're just completely different. But I would say we're not really lagging behind, because slowly but steadily we realize how important the education it is to spread the word what's going on and to onboard as many people as possible in this game, to not fall behind any further. Of course, Germany did fall behind in digital topics by a lot. We will see what the pandemic did to us in Germany in the good sense, from the technical wise, from the digital wise, I guess, in the next years. Of course, all the negative impacts the pandemic had is a really strong tragedy here. But from the digital point of view, it was a strong positive impact to have a pandemic and make everyone home working and just like establish a completely new infrastructure, make them use from day one. And I think Germany is doing a tremendous job here.
Yeah,
and
I
also
agree.
Other countries of Europe.
Yeah, definitely. I think most jurisdictions are handling it quite well, just from the effort perspective, at least. And it's interesting, like I saw it myself too. I think everybody experienced it, like that we all kind of through this pandemic morphed into a more digital stage or world, so to say. Even for instance, my mother now is using Zoom calls, and I think everybody knows this a bit, that I think everybody's kind of getting this forced integration of this digital world, basically through the pandemic. This obviously led to congestions as well of networks. Even as we see, for instance, with Ethereum, the gas fees were also rising because a lot of more people were adopting to the Ethereum blockchain in terms of the DeFi craze, for instance, that happened. So Ethereum is now in the process of switching to Ethereum 2.0, which is basically from proof of work to proof of stake. And so first of all, where do you see the potential risks of this switch, and maybe even benefits from keeping the proof of stake work network? But then also on top of this, what is to you the major benefit that this switch will inherit and will have a crucial impact on the future of Ethereum?
Well, interesting question here. I just wanted to mention one thing also to the pandemic and the crisis we had before with Ethereum 1.0, for instance. It proved to be resilient. That is something which is a huge thing, because it was one of the main crises we had to handle. There was strong impacts here, and this ecosystem we built and shaped survived and showed to be resilient here. That's amazing. For the update, Ethereum 2.0. So your first question was, where do I see the biggest benefits? And of course, it has to do with the speed of the network, the transactions per second, which is a problem. It is a problem due to the adoption. So it's a good problem to have it, that we have to handle here, that we have to load balance what's going on and the interest here. So of course, it's a needed update from performance side, that we have to have it. And I'm really looking forward to it, of course, to leverage Ethereum to the new decade. And I think that's really good. The challenges and the risks here is, of course, main challenge, it needs to work flawlessly as it does right now. Of course, the consistency of data has to be perfect. between Ethereum 1.0 and 2.0. So like this has to be like the gap in between has to be closed, and the transition here is incredibly hard. Also, the moment to figure out when it's the moment to change is something really tough, because you cannot just postpone it all the time. So there will be this moment of painful release, as it is in anywhere with the software world, where you will just have to give it a go as soon we did checks and fulfill them. And if they're working, we have to go through it. Like, it's a process, and the adoption process again to that will be a case. But I'm right now really confident that this will work out, and seeing all those great chains next to Ethereum, we can also see how other approaches are being tested. And this field is so young that we have to learn from everyone and the whole community, and every learning is important. Nobody knows everything, and so the sharing and spreading of information is crucial. And I think what we can tell right now is that Ethereum by far is the most adopted and used network in the blockchain space, if you do not consider Bitcoin now as a utility network, as Ethereum it is. And I think this is Ethereum will do a great step for the future here, and this is the reason why a lot of people believe in it. There's a lot of development going on and activity around it, and we see great instruments being built there. So I think it's a great blockchain to have your eyes on right now and to see how this goes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Ethereum is the supercomputer, as some consider it. And it's great that you mentioned, you know, the community aspect, which I think, to me especially, is something that is very crucial and substantial in terms of fostering growth of a blockchain network. Because without community, there's no real value there, I think. Yeah, you mentioned other chains. So at Amazing Blocks, you chose Ethereum as a blockchain with the ERC20 standard, obviously. So first of all, why did you choose Ethereum? I mean, obviously you answered some of this already, but maybe why specifically for tokenization Ethereum? And are there other chains that Amazing Blocks is considering as like, you know, a potential integration to kind of offer a bit more flexibility in the future, or will Amazing Blocks stay with Ethereum?
Well, you asked me before if where I had these moments of true enlightenment, maybe in the field, and I had one of those for sure on Ethereum, and especially when I realized, okay, whatever we write is a building block. And right now we think often, okay, we will write something and we will use this data with one application, and it will interact, and it will be proven on the blockchain that something is the case. Well, with this one block you wrote, with this one simple application, you build a block maybe for some way other application here. And that is something which is really hard to grasp right now. So whenever we start writing something on a blockchain, it might be something for the future where we do not know how we will use it. What we know for sure is that the blockchain is transparent and most likely safe. So we can rely on this data, and this is something which is something very odd, that we can rely and have structured data and at the same time accessible anywhere. And we always hear garbage in, garbage out. Well, this is not happening with the blockchain if you have a structured system like this. And what we can see here is the building block of this data, where we tokenize something. It might be used by the other application to have an insurance on it, or to give you a nice, comfier access to those assets and everything around it. So Ethereum, with the whole community effect, might have the most building blocks to build upon a completely new construct, most likely the future. And so I'm bullish on this side that Ethereum is definitely a place to stay, especially due to the network effect. Though, of course, you ask for other chains. Other chains are here for a reason. And they do have their very own, very good, unique selling propositions. And so we have to, of course, check on them. Like, what did they try to fix? Why is it here? And my task as the CTO is to keep my eyes open, of course, like to see where might be amazing blocks tomorrow. Where do we have to shift today? What is something our client wants, which makes sense, and we should, of course, go for that. That might be due to clients or other businesses being on other chains. That might be due to create integrations of KYC approaches like we see in Cielo, for instance, or that we need way more speed. And then I think about Stella, or we just have so many reasons to look at other chains and not forget about them, to just keep our eyes on them. And in case we need to do a shift, we'll be there.
Okay, and I think one core benefit of blockchain is its interoperability. So therefore, I think integrating multiple chains in the future in a tokenization platform does sound like a logical next step when obviously mainstream adoption is coming for these tokenized assets. So with the current state of Ethereum and the network congestion, do you see any issues of using, when the topic of this podcast is tokenizing everything. So when everything is tokenized, do you think that Ethereum will be ready to handle everything, or do you think that in the future it will be kind of spread across multiple chains?
Most likely both is true. We will for sure have some main chains. That might be a main chain like e-currency here. That might be main chains like Ethereum here. And we most likely will have specialized chains. And most likely we will even have connecting chains, like chains in between blockchains, which will do an orchestration of all the data happening around it. We do see amazing approaches like Polkadot here. We see incredible functionalities like atomic swaps here, where we can pass on information. We see Oracle. So I'm right now confident that we will find solutions for chains we need to have an interoperability with, to get them somehow integrated. Of course, it's important that this will be on a stable base. That's not a question. But right now, and my point of view is that we are in a like 1996 situation before the dot-com bubble. There might be a Google right now, there might be an Amazon founded right now, and we don't know it. But there's also going to be 90% other firms who might die. There might, of course, be another rush on the whole chain. So we have no idea, but the storm is coming, and the big storm is coming. It's not something we saw in 2017 or something like that. It's going to be a completely different storm because of utility and not just of greed.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned this aspect. I mean, I agree with you fully that probably currently is the state where you kind of it crystallizes a bit more which are the projects that actually have a benefit and a reward use case, and which are the ones that probably where scams are just have too much competition. And I think this is why also these last 3 to 4 years after the ICO craze have been quite helpful, for people that are really deep into the crypto and blockchain space, in terms of really seeing, okay, which are the serious projects that continue development, that continue, building a community, and which are the ones that actually kind of, stopped promoting their coin all of a sudden, which is just something that I've realized myself a lot with these projects. When you suddenly do not see their coin promoted on anywhere of their website anymore, which is usually a pain point. And I agree that, these Amazons and Googles are probably being founded right now. And I mean, obviously Amazing Blocks could be one of them. So let's get more into Amazing Blocks a bit. What makes the software of Amazing Blocks so unique in terms of maybe comparing it to other tokenization projects? And on top of this, what makes it secure?
Okay. Oh, big question. Well, for the tokenization software, of course, we do have a lot of tokenization services right now in the market. But we are not just some tokenization service in that sense. We are basically a legal tech. So our focus here is on integrating basically legal components into our software. And We are based in Liechtenstein, and so hence we made sure that our software is compatible to the Liechtenstein law and jurisdiction. So in this case, we aim for sure at the TVTG, the Liechtenstein Blockchain Act, and we're here to leverage it. And right now, being at this state, Amazing Blocks is doing, I think, a great job by tokenizing the whole firm itself, to prove it, to showcase this to other people, to also show software we develop with our partner Mikobo here, to give to our customers well-researched and well-built software in their hands, green-lighted as we need it. And this right now to be ready and all set to tokenize incredible stuff in Liechtenstein. You asked though, what is one of the main selling points of Amazing Blocks? Basically, it's the law we leverage. It's something we do not own as an asset in that sense, but we are the first ones to really do it. That's our asset here. And we're super confident and happy that we most likely found a really nice place in the blockchain and tokenization world, because I think we got some interest here.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you say not only offer, but actually do, because obviously Amazing Blocks also tokenized itself, the amazing 600 Amazing Blocks tokens, which can be found on Etherscan. So the token standard at Amazing Blocks is ERC20. So where do you see the benefits of ERC20, maybe in comparison to the latest trends of ERC 1400 and even NFTs?
It's an interesting question, a good one, of course. Well, the higher token standards like 1400, you mentioned it before, are really nice tokens with a lot of great baked-in functionality. But sometimes you have to think about, okay, what do we want with this token? What is going to be the token lifecycle? Is it something I will always hold in my hands and manage myself and do something with it? Or might this token have a life cycle even with other products and everything? And so when I'm talking about other products, I'm of course like pointing to compatibility. And this is of course best given with an ERC20 token, one which is fungible and tradable and usable, holdable in LA wallet, and doesn't have any neat functions baked in. So it's like really lean and basic in order to be compatible to all the future uses we want to leverage of a token in the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the ERC20 standard is there probably, at least as of now, in the next couple of years, the best way to go. Obviously, we'll see what the future inherits. Maybe, I mean, from a technical perspective, I think it would also be possible to probably integrate multiple tokens at some point. But yeah, let's continue a bit with one of your favorite topics that I know of, DeFi, decentralized finance. So just a brief intro to our listeners. What to you are the most crucial benefits of DeFi, and what makes DeFi so special? Is like in the world of blockchain.
Okay, I will just like add one thing for the other tokens. Of course, the token development and what will come in the future, and maybe there might be a new standard, everything around it. We will keep our eyes open. Right now, we just try to keep it lean, but I'm sure there will be updates which we cannot resist. Yeah. However, for the DeFi space, to come back to this question, DeFi is an incredibly interesting economy. It is something decentralized, something we do not know. It's something which is almost like the internet before we all knew the internet. It is apparently like a playground where we can define rules, and if these rules make sense, we can deploy it. Like it sounds like dreamers. And it is almost like that, because what we can see here in the DeFi space is reimagined finance products. And if they add up, if the math makes sense, we see incredible disruptional financial products. And for instance, to mention a few, is like a flash loan ability, for instance, by Aave. It's something so hard to describe. for a traditional banker what a flash loan is, though it might leverage in future so many people to do big transactions, win a lot out of it, and also stay safe. Like you cannot lose the money because it will be re-rolled, like rolled back if something does not work out. So what a tool is that? It is something which is really tough to understand, that I can like play with money almost, and only if I win I execute it. Is tough to believe. Also other functionalities, for instance, like the stablecoins vault, we saw MakerDAO doing incredible software here, which was also, by the way, resilient to the Corona crisis. The DAI survived, it did its job. Of course, there was problems with the speed and the Oracle network and things around that, but we learned out of it. So it will be even better for the next time. What a wonderful stress test here. So what we see, and that is something which is important about DeFi, is finance reimagined. And finance reimagined is something hard to understand, because it's so much new and different, and new rules being in place, which is mind-blowing for someone who worked with the traditional finance. So DeFi is like when I talked about the building blocks, where someone might do something, that the finance squared.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially what you mentioned, for instance, use cases like flash loans, where the entire loan happens within one block and therefore within seconds, and you do not have to use any collateral, or something that is hard to grasp for people that are not familiar with blockchain. And I think once they actually see the benefits of it and that it actually works, there will be another fear of missing out incoming, I assume, in the next couple of months or years,
Just
depending.
once. Yeah. It's hard to believe, but I think there might be a few more runs on it, especially when there's the genius products being deployed or keep being deployed by the community of really, really smart people, like outstanding mathematicians and coders, and who just reimagine how finance might be structured tomorrow, and that is decentralized. Like it's something which is unbelievable, that is not an intermediary in between, and you have the control over your money. You know where the value of your assets is and is being used, and it's transparent. It's something which is really hard to believe.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it can create a lot of financial inclusion as well, and also generate passive income. There's definitely also other tools that may not be directly DeFi, but things like staking and so on, and other applications will definitely disrupt the financial sector. So let's talk about how DeFi and tokenization can potentially combine. DeFi is typically KYC less, mostly. And tokenization, especially legally compliant tokenization, requires this KYC process. So how can you combine these two parts?
It is a challenge, but it is doable. Of course, when we think about DeFi, we always have to remember that this is a very early stage ecosystem. Like there's going to be security issues, there's going to be technical issues. We're like really in the beginning, and we're just like building on the green field right now. So you asked for the tokenization integration in DeFi. Well, of course, it is going to be a problem on the first side, how to make sure that something which is tokenized is of value and is something which can be proven to a whole decentralized community without a centralized entity which might check on it. How do we solve this? It's a question which you can right now almost not solve, other than we have like institutionals which people believe and trust on, that they might have this asset checked for reality. Though, if we have an already checked token or like asset on DeFi available, how do we make it tradable, for instance? You mentioned before KYC, there's also AML, a big topic here. And the way to make sure everything works flawlessly is to have decentralized KYC and AML information as well, which is though still not linked to your clear name. because we don't want to do that with the Data Privacy Act, of course, to broadcast that all across the network. Though I can see that we will have the ability to do in KYC, put it on the chain, and maybe use this KYC written somehow in a DeFi application in order to track who's owning what in the sense of tokenizations and to keep track of it in shareholder registers. I think things like this will be possible. Of course, also the jurisdictions have to need to be able to support a decentralized tokenization. In that sense, it's really far away at this point right now. But I think we will get there. And somehow, if it's not being done by countries or jurisdictions, it might be that people will just push it out. Like blockchain is like really a global project, and it doesn't have boundaries on it. And so the whole work is on it, on how the future will be tomorrow.
Yeah, this is great insights there on this. I think whenever we have to see this connection between DeFi and tokenization happening, there can be a lot of liquidity provided to both spaces and a lot of interesting financial tools. So last but not least, something that I always like to ask our guests here is just a general question. Like, where do you see blockchain and tokenization in 10 years from now?
Wow. So okay, we will start with tokenization. Most likely tokenization is a tool which will be leveraged by a lot in the next years. Most likely there will be even a storm on it, like a tsunami starting into this field. Maybe even also Corona driven, that for instance, cultural entities need money right now to survive, to be in business, to be open for the day after tomorrow. And maybe they will use it as an emergency funding. Then we will see tokenization where it just makes sense when you open up new digital classes for alternative investments and rather secure yields and interest. So that's something which is incredibly interesting. And the future of tokenization is something which I think will be very present in our lives, that we will start participating and owning maybe little things we love. It might be a song, it might be a piece of a movie, it might be the house I live in, it might be something I wear, it might be something which my sister is wearing. It's really tough to predict what it will be, but I'm really sure that we will break border and boundary after boundary in the next years, and we will get going in the tokenization space. For blockchain, I think blockchain will be really present to a lot of people, to the masses in the future, but maybe they won't know it. That's the interesting thing here. It might be always a back office technology the coder or like everyone around it will learn about, but the user, as he just wants a neat and wonderful user experience, and he will basically shift to the one service which has the nicest user experience and doesn't cost too much. And for sure, blockchain does have a strong cost advantage. And I think a really great UI, like UX, user experience, plus the efficiency that it's going to be super cheap, plus that there will be a legal framework to use it, will basically the breakthrough mass adoption for blockchain applications, I think.
Yeah, this is a great closing word. I think sure there are still a lot of obstacles to surmount for tokenization and blockchain, but it's a great point that you mentioned there, especially with blockchain as a back end technology. I mean, it's the same with the internet, basically. Like everybody's using it, but who really understands it? So I'm sure technology specialists like you do, but most people that actually use the internet don't really have a clue what it means. And this is something that people actually need to probably understand about blockchain, that they will not really see what blockchain is, but they will see or feel the benefits. And I think this is where the future lays ahead. So Raphael, I really enjoyed talking to you today. Some great insights. It was a a longer talk than usually, but I think this is really important with someone like you that has such deep insights into the blockchain space. So I really enjoyed having you here, and I'm looking forward to having you back in the next couple of months.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. It was a great podcast recording here. I really loved the talk as well, and it was a great pleasure that I was invited by you to speak to you for you.
Yeah, thank you, Raphael. See you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
So if anyone is interested in what Amazing Blocks is doing, or getting some more technical insight in Raphael or me, then feel free to reach out to us anytime. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can go to our website or send us just an email. So thank you for listening, and see you on the next episode.